We're actually going to watch Veritas's video. I really want to see what Veritas has to say. Literally everybody on Twitter's been talking about this. So the video is called, "Is Tarkov going in the wrong direction?" Alpha footage. Wow. Jesus Christ.
Lots of us old-timers like to reminisce about the old Tarkov. Glory days when the game was simply better. Many folks laugh at those of us that discuss how the game was back in the day, pointing to silly mechanics, ridiculous bugs, and absurd metas. Clear examples of how the game we play now is obviously better than the game we used to play.
See how janky the movement was in the alpha? It's not hilarious.
With every update, the game has gotten slower, more realistic, more hardcore, and more complex. We have more guns, more maps, more skills.
There's my PMC
quests,
walking
we
like this,
have a hideout, a flea market, a dozen new mechanics. Anybody who thinks the game was better before is just seeing the past through rose-tinted glasses. They're all just coping, trying to justify a lack of skill, lack of relevance, or the inability to adapt to new challenges. The fact of the matter is, it's just a lot more complicated than that. Not only is it impossible to say which was a better game, it's also pointless. There's no realistic way the game would ever actually go back to the way it was, and that's not actually what anybody seriously wants. Like most things, it's just a bit more nuanced than even the people who think fondly about the good old days might realize. I would argue that this is another one of those cases where not even the people who are telling you what they want actually know quite what that thing is.
Oh, the old AK sounds, dude. Man, I actually miss it so much, man. I wish they never changed the sound of the AK. Oh, it sounded so much better back then.
Even though I've spent a considerable amount of time discussing with many of the OGs where Tarkov is now and how it compares to the game that we used to play, many agreements as well as differences of opinion amongst us, there are countless common threads, both stated as well as unstated, to be found amidst these conversations. Of course, I can only really speak for myself, so that's what I'm going to be doing today. Many of you might agree, many of you might disagree, and that's okay. The crucial details about why the game felt so much better back in the day are not the surface level ones that many will jump to and then instantly dismiss. When I show a clip that's going to be an example of what I'm talking about, the natural tendency is to look at one or two specific glaring and obvious details and assume that that is what I'm focusing on. They see a clip of an old fight from 10.2 and the first things they notice are that there's no healing animations or that reloading magazines is instantaneous, and assume that I just want everything to be faster, easier, or that I want them to remove those features from the game entirely. I can't stress enough how thinking this way is entirely missing the point. All of the clips that I show are going to be examples of where the game's mechanics, systems, or lack thereof combine together directly, indirectly, on purpose, or by accident to form a particular gameplay experience. The focus of this video is about how the game felt and what it was like to play around 2 or 3 years ago, and what aspects of that experience that we fell in love with that were pivotal in contributing to its success over that time, many of us feel are no longer present in the experience of Tarkov today. I also feel strongly that these changes that so many of us longtime players have felt in the overall tone, the overall feeling and experience, are changes that if Nikita fully understood, he would be very likely to agree are not intended. Now, it's easy for people to respond and say that he wants the game to be more hardcore, more challenging, more punishing, more tactical, more realistic, and then say the game is moving in that direction with all of the features and systems that have been added over time. So if we don't like the way things feel now, then we must not like the game Nikita wants, and that's our problem. It's why I'm told I need to adapt or find another game. Now here's the thing.
I hate that fucking response. I really fucking hate that response, dude. It's the general response from most people that, in my opinion, that is the general response from people that don't play the game, that only experience Tarkov through content created by other people. So people that watch streams, people that watch Tarkov YouTube content, and people that frequent the Tarkov Reddit to go in and pile on topics they know nothing about. Or say, oh, well, here, your ideologies about how Tarkov should be don't align with how Nikita wants it, so I guess you should go play another game. And it's like, when you put it that way, it just sounds so fucking stupid. Because we know what Nikita wants. And a lot of us generally, will agree with that. And even when we make points for like, well, this should be more realistic and this should be like that because this doesn't make sense. And like people like jump on and say, well, it's obviously not in Nikita's vision. And I'm like, I don't think Nikita wants it this way, you know? And it's like, they disagree with you and they shit on everything that you say because it's not the way you think Nikita would have it, you know?
It's not that I don't like the intended destination of the game. It's that I don't think we're going the right way towards.
The thing that fries me the most, too, is when people say, oh, it's a beta. It's like, you motherfucker, you put me in the same room with this guy. Do it, I swear to God. Yes, Tarkov is technically in beta, right? But you can't use the it's a beta excuse to just completely ignore shit that's been wrong with the game for 5 years. We're gone beyond that point now. You know, 5 years, bit much for me. Maybe if it was only a year, then fair enough. But, you know, 5 years, you know, I think there's a statute of limitations to that argument, you know?
All of the newer individual features and balancing changes that people argue are more hardcore and realistic might be in theory, but in practice, as they exist in the game now, they're completely the opposite. And what's worse, they all combine together to create a gameplay loop that I genuinely think is antithetical to what Nikita wants. I wholeheartedly believe...
Oh my God, the old AVS rigs, dude. But look at the AVS rig. This was back before armored rigs were a thing. I love this, man. This is great. Oh, back when rubles stacked in 100k instead of 500k stacks.
But I and many others in the community do not think that the changes they're making are pushing it in that direction.
Jeez, was the Shoreline expansion like really this long ago? God, this makes me feel so old. I thought this like I thought this like predated all of that. That's crazy, man.
This video is an attempt to explain directly to Nikita, as well as many of the newer players that never got to experience the Tarkov of old, that in many ways, myself and many of the OG veterans of the game feel the design and implementation of so many aspects of modern Tarkov go against what we understand is his intended experience. Now, don't get me wrong, the Tarkov of old had plenty of its own issues and awkwardness. It had mechanics that people didn't like, many things needed to change. Now, in so many ways, they've made a ton of progress and things have gotten better. Again, this video is in no way saying that we want what we had then. Now, what's most important to me is that when it was at its best, there was nothing else like it. And I feel that, unfortunately, that essence has been lost. Now, the elephant that comes crashing into...
Do you guys see that as well? The old bleed icon is actually the bleed icon now we have for heavy bleeds. I'm enjoying this so far, man. I love seeing all the old footage. Say what you will about Veritas. He's one of my oldest friends as far as like Tarkov goes. He has spent so much time making so much awesome content for this game. The amount of work he's done for the community is insane. And his content's always been great. And I don't understand why he gets so much fucking hate. It's actually really annoying because he's one of the most like logically thinking, like passionate people that actually loves this game and wants it to be as good as it can be. You know what I mean?
The room every time these discussions come up is the idea of realism. Now, I don't want to dwell on this for too long because I personally believe that it's a giant waste of time.
Hey, it's Call of Duty.
This always ends up being some pseudo-masculine, ego-stroking circle jerk where wannabe operators sitting in their basements pretending to be alpha males call anybody who disagrees with them beta cuck losers who need to go play a baby game like Call of Duty.
True.
The fact of the matter is that we're all just dudes and chicks sitting in our basements, role-playing as operators, trying to enjoy our free time playing a challenging video game.
Exactly.
So let's just try to get this out of the way right up front. Realism is a massive spectrum that encompasses a wide range of things, some that are common, some that are miraculous, some that are unbelievable. Now, for some reason, the default from so many in the community is to imagine one specific set of circumstances, put themselves or someone like me in those circumstances and think, could that happen? Could that be done? Now, this is basically pointless. Not only because most of us have no idea what would or could happen in actual similar real-world circumstances, not only because we don't really know if any of us could or would be able to do any such things if we were put in those situations, but mostly because we are not our PMCs, and our PMCs are not real soldiers. Our PMCs are reflections of one particular type.
It's such a classic not being able to jump over that thing in the early wipe, dude. I hate that spot, dude. The word realism gets thrown around a lot in Tarkov. The thing about Tarkov is it's not realistic. Okay? It's not. It just fucking isn't. When you break it down and you look at, okay, the guns are realistic. Maybe the ballistics are realistic. The movement, not so much. The way people fight in this game, generally not so much. The amount of bullets that people can take, not so much. The premise of it, yes, you know, you could argue it is realistic, but the key thing to kind of take away from Tarkov is that it's more realistic than other games. And I think that's something that people miss, because people draw this comparison of Tarkov being like, you know, a real life, you know, PMC versus whatever simulator. And like, yeah, kinda, but like, it's not realistic in terms of like real life. But it is definitely more realistic than other video games.
Type of soldier in a fictional universe created for entertainment purposes, both in cinematic form as well as in video game form. Now, if realism is the goal and it's only realistic to accept what we would do in those same situations, then the realistic Tarkov experience would be most of us in the fetal position in the corner in a puddle of our own piss, begging for mercy. The fact of the matter is that the vast majority of the time when members of the Tarkov community defend certain aspects of the game as realistic or not, they're simply wrong on just about every level.
You can do it,
I get
buddy.
told it's not realistic that people are able to shoot as quickly as I can click my mouse, either at all or with any reasonable accuracy. And I need to look no further than Instagram, where both myself and Clean have clear counterexamples of rapid semi-auto fire with amounts of control that people say is unrealistic when it's in Tarkov.
Absolutely true.
I get told that the weapon hand...
Like, I can tell you guys, as somebody who has never shot a gun before, when I went to the range with Donut and Brandon, I was firing fully automatic weapons with zero training, zero issues. And guess what? My gun didn't go, oh! I kept it downrange, kept it damn near on target for somebody with zero fucking training. Somebody who has basically never shot firearms in their entire life. And our PMCs are supposed to be trained private military contractors, right? Isn't that what PMC stands for? I'm pretty sure. So that thing, I 100%, I will argue with anybody, because now I actually have the experience of shooting firearms in real life, to where I can say, for like, with beyond a shadow of a doubt, you know, somebody comes to chat, yeah, well, you've obviously never shot a fully automatic M4 before. Well, actually, yes, I have. And I've shot a fully automatic 7.62 AK as well. And guess what? It's not like pretty much any video game. They're very, very easy to control.
Handling mechanics in the game are realistic. That real soldiers shouldn't be able to stand up while reloading. That my frustrations with how clunky and unnaturally my character manipulates the weapon, unable to smoothly transition between different firing positions, from in and out of cover, between point firing and shouldering the rifle while shooting, all of that is unreasonable and unrealistic. Just as long as we don't do anything to make the game more like Call of Duty. That game is unrealistic. It's unimmersive, it's not hardcore or tactical. Everybody's bullet spongy, the time to kill is ridiculous. It's an arcade shooter with unrealistic weapon handling, unrealistic movement, unrealistic time to kill. Whatever we do, we have to make sure that we become nothing like Call of Duty.
I hate that argument. As somebody who loves hardcore games like Tarkov, I love those games. They're so much more fun than just like pretty much any other shooter out there, because at the end of the day, you stand to gain something or you stand to fucking lose something when you die, unlike Call of Duty. But on the other end of the spectrum, I played Call of Duty nonstop for like, what, 2 fucking months? I had a blast with it. That game is so much fun. And there's so many people out there that just won't even play COD because they're like, that's a game for little kids, you know? And it's like the same thing with Fortnite. Like, there's so many people that wouldn't play Fortnite just because they think it's like some shitty kids game. I haven't played Fortnite much, but any time that I actually have, guess what? I had a lot of fun.
I get told that the insane full auto recoil we experience with so many of the weapon builds in Tarkov is realistic recoil. And then I look at videos from Brownells with our very own Jesse Kazam, having no trouble controlling even shorter form factor rifles fully auto. Or literally any other video on YouTube of pretty much every weapon in the game being fired with infinitely more control than we see in the game.
Oh yeah.
Just as long as it's not like Call of Duty, right?
Just so you guys can see the differences here. This is one very, very tricky topic of conversation when it comes to Tarkov and how guns handle when compared to their real life counterparts. Some people don't make the distinction of Tarkov being a video game. The problem is video games need balance, especially a progression-based game like Tarkov, where when you level up, you unlock better attachments, you unlock, suppressors, muzzle brakes, foregrips, handguards. There's a lot of people right now that are arguing that pretty much every gun in Tarkov, no matter how you mod it, should pretty much be a laser beam because that's what they're like in real life. I'd be curious to just let BSG make every gun a beam for a month and then see everybody's feedback. Because I think there would be a lot of upset, and I think there'd be a lot of people that would be really fucking pissed off because you're taking a massive level of progression out of the game and completely nullifying it and making it so that it just doesn't matter. Like, it just doesn't matter at all. And that's what a lot of people are arguing for right now. But I think it's a little simpler than that. I think all they have to do is just kind of change the initial recoil burst of a lot of guns, i.e. the M4 where you get that insane muzzle rise. Same thing with the MP7. Same thing with even the MP5, the P90s. Same thing with... Basically, if there's any guns in Tarkov right now that should just have the muzzle rise removed, it's one, fucking pistols. Pistols are fucking ridiculous in this game with the amount of rise that they have. Two, the SMGs, because SMGs are supposed to be good in the early game, not... When you get to level 3 and level 4 traders and get all the best attachments for them, then you can make them laser beams. They're pointless in the early game because there are just rifles that have less recoil than scarcely modded SMGs. Like, it's crazy. I don't mind there being muzzle rise and some kind of like, recoil pattern to like, the higher caliber guns. Like, fair enough, your FALs, your AKs, your 7.62 AKs, your M4s, your HKs. Like, yeah, they can have it more so than other guns, but like, it's some guns have it, some guns don't. And it's just, when you're looking at like the different calibers that these guns fire, it just doesn't make sense.
The insane physical and visual recoil from shotguns is realistic, and then see clips like this, where even the GoPro that's loosely strapped to this guy's head, floppily bouncing back and forth significantly more than
Jerry
his
Mitchell
head is,
I love that guy.
shows far less recoil than we actually get in-game.
Yeah, like, what is that? Like, there is no reason why where you're looking should go to the moon when you're shooting guns like that. That's, like, the visual recoil is one thing. I think it would do fucking wonders for Tarkov if they just disabled the visual recoil for just a week and just see what everybody thinks, because it would change the game in such a fucking positive way. The visual recoil is like the worst thing about this game.
Whatever you do, just make sure it's nothing like Call of Duty. I get told that it's unrealistic to expect helmets and armor to be able to block certain bullets in certain situations. And then I see footage of a Marine's helmet eating a sniper bullet in Afghanistan. Are these two guys demonstrating the effectiveness of body armor as well as the physics of getting shot? Standing on one leg and taking a .308 round from an FAL point blank to his plate as if nothing happened.
There it is. Really didn't feel like much less than a punch.
I get told it's realistic that after a short amount of time jogging or crouching and standing up a couple of times, that my PMC would be completely unable to reposition to safety, especially if they sustain injuries from gunshots. Now, even after running for less than 30 seconds with an empty backpack, some light body armor, and a rifle, my PMC should be completely out of stamina. So if he happens to be shot at and even hit, it makes perfect sense that he would be entirely unable to move to cover, that he would be immobilized and should stand in place while sustaining fire to regain his stamina so he can reposition to better cover. Then I see footage of what many real soldiers are actually capable of, running 12 miles straight in the desert heat with more than 50 pounds in their backpacks without stopping to stand in place once, only taking short breaks to slow down to a brisk walking pace while regaining their stamina before they get right back to running. When I think about tactical, intense, hardcore combat situations, I don't imagine myself as someone who's going to let being a little winded or a couple minor injuries keep me from getting my ass to cover. I don't imagine a little bit of running is going to cause my PMC to just give up and let himself die. What I do imagine is a lot more like this guy, Chuck Ritter, an actual real-life Giga Chad that does what he has to do to not only keep himself alive, but to save someone else's life. It doesn't matter how much he'd been running that day, how many times he needed to crouch behind cover, how thirsty or hungry he was, how much gear he was carrying on his back, or how many rounds from a PKM machine gun he took to his body. He did what he had to do to get the job done.
This dude, he's not that injured. He's got his fingers blown off, and he's got a through and through to the leg. But he's just laying there. He was scared. Later he said he thought he was dead. Dragging this dude, and all of a sudden the machine gun opens up from where I thought.
I've often, thought about the idea of Tarkov having some kind of adrenaline system. I'm pretty sure every single person here has had probably dozens of experiences in Tarkov where you're running, you get shot, and you can't move. It's still one of my least favorite changes they've ever made to the game, is where when you get shot, your stamina bar completely drains, and you're a sitting duck, and you're fucked. It's so frustrating because in Tarkov, at any time, in any place, you can run into a guy who's just sitting somewhere in a bush on top of a hill. You would never see him unless you had a thermal, and nobody uses thermals because they're dog shit. And you're just put in this impossible situation where you're going to die. Are there situations in Tarkov where you're just going to eat shit because unlucky? Of course there is. But I just think that being shot once shouldn't completely drain all of your stamina and then you're screwed. Fair enough, if you get shot in the leg, you start limping, you hit a morphine. But even if you hit a morphine, your stamina bar is still going to be completely drained because you're being shot. And you can't reposition and you can't move. And the only thing you can do is activate fucking Super Saiyan mode in your gamer brain and turn around, find the guy that's probably sitting 100 meters away from you and one-tap him before you die. Which, I have done, but that's because I've been playing games for, X amount of years and have thousands and thousands of hours of experience in Tarkov, and I know how this shit works. It's super frustrating to just get shot once and you're so close to cover, but you have no means to get there and you're just completely screwed. Because in real life, if you get shot at, the heavens couldn't stop you from moving. That survival instinct that kicks in, the adrenaline that kicks in, will carry you through everything because the human body is designed to, above all else, stay alive.
We kill him onto the platoon leader. So I transitioned over to where I'm pretty sure this PKM gunner is. I can't see him. I start unloading on where I think he's at. He transitions to me, strikes me on the right leg. I was on a knee. And knocked that knee back. It felt like a sledgehammer. So I move forward. My whole body's in a Superman position. The next round comes in and hits my upper back right here on the shoulder blade. Goes to the brachial nerve complex and the brachial artery and lodges in my lower back. And then a third round nicked my butt.
Alpha, we are taking effective fire.
I was pissed. What was going through my head was I'm going to kill this dude. At this point in time, I didn't feel a whole lot of pain.
Is Chuck good?
It felt like I got hit with a sledgehammer in the leg, and it definitely felt like somebody hit me with a sledgehammer in the back. I was like, okay, this isn't good. Let's get this dude out of here.
Zulu, you good? I'm hit. Hey, Zulu's hit.
I came around the corner, and then that's when the pain set in, and that wound redefined my definition of pain.
Where at, Chuck? Where at? Come back. Zulu's hit.
Jesus.
Please, Tarkov community.
What an animal.
I beg you, stop pretending you know what's realistic and what's not. You've simply proven that you do not. Even if you did know what was realistic and what wasn't, stop arguing that realism is the goal of the game. There are many things that belong in the game that are realistic and many things that belong in the game that aren't. It's a game. In real life, you don't have a HUD display that pops up telling you where and to what extent you have injuries. You feel the bullet wounds and
Not yet.
You can feel the blood. In this case, we all accept that there needs to be some abstraction of the real-life experiences into video game mechanics. At this point, you simply have to recognize that your arbitrary preferences about what things should be abstracted and what things shouldn't is not necessarily the right answer. And we also need to be very careful about how we go about addressing issues that we may feel like don't necessarily fit in the game, because in almost every case historically where we've attempted to do so, we've not actually fixed any problems, and instead made the experience in normal situations under reasonable circumstances cumbersome, annoying, or next to impossible, and all of it in the name of realism. Is it really worth it?
It's not.
Now, some people argue that I'm upset because of skill issues, that my aim and reaction times just aren't what they used to be compared to all these new young kids playing the game. I can't keep up with this newer fast-paced meta. Well, I hate to break it to you, but I might be old, but I'm not dead yet. I'd be perfectly fine with much faster-paced, zero recoil jumping all over the place combat. In fact, I think I'd do quite well. But that assumes the game has proper movement and weapon handling to account for it. Otherwise, what's the point? Now, not only does the game not have that super fast-paced, hyper-precision movement in combat at the moment, but it isn't exactly what Nikita wants for the game, and I respect that. Nikita has said many times that what we see in the Raid series they created is an accurate representation of the experience he wants for players. This is the core foundational premise of my entire argument. Any of us can point out all kinds of things in the Raid series that are unrealistic or might not ever happen in real life, but it simply doesn't matter. It's fiction, just like Tarkov is a video game. The aim is not to simulate real life one for one. The aim is to immerse watchers or players in a specific experience, one that's dark, punishing, unforgiving, hardcore, and based on contemporary modern-day combat. When I watch the Raid series, none of it reminds me of the gameplay today, but so much of it brings me back to the Tarkov of old. So many scenes actually feel like they were inspired by many of my most epic, memorable moments. Watching the combat from the Raid series, we see PMCs moving quickly and quietly, partially crouched, guns held up at the ready. We see them moving through complex environments, taking advantage of these environments by stopping to crouch behind cover, to survey their surroundings. We don't see them tired, struggling to move because of stamina or because they're out of breath or their arms are shaky. Can you imagine if one of these guys had to stop, lower their gun, and stand there to catch their breath? They're all able to move confidently and covertly, making use of the situation to take advantage of the element of surprise. Back in the day, we actually had the ability to ready our guns and move covertly. Every movement of our gun or footstep we made wasn't telegraphing our position to everybody on the map. This allowed for a completely different playstyle that's effectively impossible today, rewarding those who adopted a more careful, slow, tactical approach, even if they were significantly undergeared.
Oh, the RSAS. Just sallow a first aid kit. Funny. Back before the meta animations.
We don't see them stopping when they get shot at. We don't see them struggling to get on their feet to run to cover when they hear one of their comrades yell grenade. They have mobility, and as such, they have survivability. When they're caught in bad positions, they get on their feet and they run as fast as they can to cover, jumping, diving, sliding, doing whatever it takes to get to safety. For a stupid and irrational hatred for one game or another that people think aren't hardcore or not realistic enough to play, things like sliding or diving are seen as arcade-like, rather than just fucking surviving. Back in the day, this kind of mobility was actually possible.
You couldn't do that these days. Dude, I'm sorry, but this era of Tarkov right here, where you could fucking move. Jesus Christ, bring it back. Oh my God, man. I forgot about this shit, man. Oh, it's just so much slower these days, man. Oh, God. These were the glory days, man. These were the glory days of EFT for me.
When firing their weapons, we don't see them struggling to control them. In the midst of the chaos of combat, we see them blind firing down hallways and over ledges, trying to expose as little as they can to enemy fire. When they know where the enemy is, sometimes they choose to quickly peek, lean, aim, and fire, and they're able to do this fluidly, quickly, and with precision, because if they don't, they'll die. With the addition of inertia and other balancing changes, some of the most immersive mechanics like sidestepping and leaning that used to be invaluable tools in combat have been effectively nerfed into the ground. They're simply far too slow and cumbersome to be as useful as they once were. Similarly, one of the most immersive and unique mechanics Tarkov has always had is the blind fire mechanic, reproducing exactly the kind of experience I was just talking about from the Raid series. Now, back in the day, we used to be able to move while blind firing, as well as blind fire while we were prone, both of which were crucial in making this mechanic actually useful in combat, but we can no longer do either, and as such, one of the best features Tarkov ever had is effectively now dead.
I was never very good at blind firing in this, but man, I remember watching Smoke back in the day. Smoke is one of the OG, like real OG Tarkov players, and he, better than anybody else, in my opinion, played Tarkov the way Tarkov was supposed to be played. Easily, in my opinion, like the most unique Tarkov player there ever has been and ever will be with the way he plays. I've seen that guy do some incredible stuff with the blind fire mechanic in Tarkov that I have never seen anybody else do. He got so good with that. The way he communicated with other players, and yeah, some people were like, oh, they were stream snipers. Like, yeah, some of them were, but not all of them were. And just, that guy was like such an innovator for EFT. Like, it's really underappreciated, I feel like, the impact that he had.
When they're wounded, we don't see them giving up, accepting their fate. We see them fighting for every inch, giving it everything they have to survive. We see they're able to competently handle their weapons, even with one hand, because they're either multitasking or because they've sustained injuries. Sometimes they get fucked up. They get their bells rung, their ears ringing, vision blurred, but they survive. They get their shit together, and they continue the fight. Now, interestingly enough, the old medical system, before we had healing animations, in a way acted as a primitive form of the adrenaline feature that I and a few others have been advocating they include in the game for a long time now. It actually makes a lot more sense that, at least initially, the adrenaline might completely numb the pain of your injuries, and also give you a burst of energy, allowing you to get to safety.
Dude, the ability for him, like, that right there could never happen today in EFT, because as soon as you get shot, all your stamina's gone, and he has enough stamina to reposition and move to safety.
I don't want to be... It used to be the case that armor was actually able to keep you alive significantly longer than it does today. Not only that, but it didn't completely destroy your mobility. Having effective armor and helmets that soaked up a decent amount of damage to the vital zones of the body was a complete game changer. Now, people criticize this era, saying that people were far too bullet spongy. But you have to recognize that with the current ballistics and health systems, the alternative is damn near an identical time to kill between no armor and all 6 classes of armor.
Oh, the
so
old
what's the point of having all of the variation in material and armor class if none of it has any appreciable impact on your survival? It just doesn't make any sense. In all of the following clips, I'm wearing Class 4 or Class 5 or Class 6 armor. Hundreds of thousands of rubles worth of gear. You tell me if you think this gear consistently performing as you're going to see is actually going to motivate people to invest in the gear and use it rather than just go naked and take a Mosin in with them.
Yep.
This is... Okay. I mean, there's no way I survived this spawn.
Nope.
Now,
Seems
the
about
benefits
right.
of having armor that actually works, coupled with giving your PMC the ability to actually control their weapon and their bodies reasonably under fire, results in much more chaotic and intense situations where your success is based on skill, not RNG or other factors outside of your control.
Yep.
So many elements of Tarkov combat are awesome and add to that chaos. But right now, they're all stacked on top of one another and turned up to 11. So every single fight feels like a complete clusterfuck. In so many of these situations, it doesn't feel good to lose, and it even doesn't feel good to win. I got lucky. That wasn't skill.
Yep.
Combined together, heavily randomized, exaggerated recoil with poor lighting, vision blurring, aim punch, overdramatic weapon sway while moving, and the vast majority of CQB fights these days feel like a complete coin toss. You might as well close your eyes and let Jesus take the wheel. Couple that with the lack of mobility caused by the weight system, way too drastic stamina drain while running, while crouching, as well as the stamina burn every time you get hit. This is, in my opinion, arguably the worst aspect of modern Tarkov. It's why I feel combat has been completely ruined. I love how I like... Unreal, dude.
Чё ты там заткнулся-то, а чё? Чё ты подох, что ли? А ты хуйло!
Dude, it's...
Заебись, чётко! Ах ты хер ебучий!
Is refusing all my cards, Lamar.
What now? Yeah, dude, I totally agree with him. We kind of skip by it, but the whole armor thing, armor has never felt more pointless to me. And I know I've said this a lot, and I know like a lot of people don't agree with me, but I miss the days where Tarkov fights lasted minutes rather than just immediately being over. It's just not as fun. Like, I miss like having fights where I'm fighting like one or two guys and it's a 5-minute fight. Whereas these days, because of the face hitbox and the fact that armor does nothing, fights end one of two ways. You hit them and they run away and you never see them again. Or you hit them in the head and they're dead. Not that I'm saying there's anything wrong with running away from a fight, but like, I feel like back in the day, people were more willing to take fights in this game because they knew their armor would actually do something. A lot of it is to blame on the face hitbox, in my opinion. I preferred the days where when you put on a helmet, it was like a force field around your head that tanked damage and then you died. Because it just made the fights last longer and the fights were just a lot more fun back then.
You actually feel as if your armor has an appreciable impact on your survival chances. You're much more likely to want to take out and use the really cool, ultra rare items that you'd otherwise wouldn't feel comfortable using.
Exactly.
Think about all the things that you leave in your stash and never use because you simply don't feel confident in using them. Now, all in all, having a longer time to kill and giving your PMC more control over their bodies and their weapons during a fight makes you feel like a badass that can take a beating, like our friend Chuck Ritter, as well as our PMCs that we see in the Raid series. The better player is rewarded, and the game is better off for it. At this point, I'm going to leave you with a few parting thoughts. Now, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I had a lot more that I wanted to say in this video. I planned on preemptively addressing some of the criticisms that I knew people were going to levy. I wanted to talk more about the game's respect for our time, both in and outside of raids. I wanted to talk about some of the issues I feel there are with the economy, the metas around looting, pre-metting, stims, energy, hydration, counter-arguments about the game being an RPG, and as such, there should be a reliance and focus on skills. And honestly, I'm just kind of exhausted. I'm exhausted from all of the bullshit that this wipe has thrown at me, from making the mistake of taking on the impossible endeavor of having conversations like these with an ever-growing community.
Agreed!
To anybody who learned something, who had their mind changed, or who even sat and listened openly to a different perspective they still might not agree with, thank you. To all of the folks that silently enjoy the content, perhaps they leave a like, maybe share it with their friends and move on with their day just like I do when I consume most of the content I enjoy. Thank you as well.
Over the last couple of years, whatever's happened to like the people on YouTube, the people on Reddit, the people on Twitter, the people that come into streams and just hop from stream to stream to stream with the same copy-paste message about, you know, fuck this guy and fuck that guy and fuck what he thinks and blah, blah, blah. I think it's fucking disgusting that Veritas is getting the shit that he's getting. Every other creator that's put videos out there where we've said that, hey, you know, we fucking love the game, but this needs to change and this needs to change and blah, blah, blah. And we think this would be better and blah, blah, blah. And then people just shit all over you for having an opinion. And then people throw out these brain dead comments like, skill issue. You're fucking you're just been playing too long. You're just bad now and you can't keep up with the way everybody else is playing the game. And it's like, do you for 1 minute think that like people at BSG are happy with the combat the way it is? Because I genuinely don't think they are. I think this might be the problem. The vast majority of people haven't been playing Tarkov as long as me, Clean, Veritas, Deadly. We remember what it was like and we remember how different things were. And we remember, like, you know, update by update, you know, some of our favorite things were kind of taken away and things got kind of weird and then things got kind of clunky and then things got really fucking weird. And it's like the newer people are seeing what things were like a few years on and then the things that were broken when they started playing. But yeah, I think it's a major difference in perspective that a lot of us have that a lot of the new players don't, and like that's not their fault. You know, I'm not blaming people for not playing. Like, oh, you haven't been playing Tarkov since 2016. Like, fuck your opinion. Like, of course you're allowed to have one, but I just think that like there's people that just don't understand it from our point of view. And I feel like if more people understood it from our perspective as people who have been playing it since damn near the start, they would be much more understanding to what we're saying and what we're suggesting. But that's the thing though. I think a lot of the new changes are like kind of screwing the newer players, man, because the gunplay is harder, especially in the early game when you don't know what you're doing with mods and stuff. The way strength and endurance works now for newer players is very unwelcoming and very, very hard to like get used to. I couldn't imagine being a brand new player to Tarkov right now and how shit it must feel as somebody who never experienced what the game was like before. I don't know, Tarkov like went from a game where you're rewarded for PvP to being a game where PvP is now an annoyance, to where it's like, oh great, I killed 4 guys, cool, can't wait to take one thing before I'm overweight. When it gets to the point where you're looking at taking somebody's gun as a nuisance rather than a reward for winning in PvP, I think there's a little bit of a problem there. You know what I mean? I don't mind that they took that away. You can't bring items cases and weapons cases to labs and go farm like, oh yeah, I just made 8 million rubles doing one lab run because I thought I brought a weapon case and an eye case with me. Like, that's fine. You know, get rid of that. So when imagine you are, you know, Timmy, okay? Timmy, he's been playing COD, he's been playing Battlefield, he's been playing Apex, he's been playing PUBG, and he's like, you know, I'm getting kind of bored of BRs, man. I kind of want something new to play. So, you know, Timmy goes online and he's like, I still want it to be an FPS. So, you know, he goes to Google and types in, you know, best FPS games. And, you know, there's going to be lists there and it's going to go, oh, Escape from Tarkov. Dude, I saw something about that on YouTube and I keep seeing videos about it. Maybe I should get into Tarkov. So, you know, he goes to escapefromtarkov.com, gets himself, you know, a standard edition. What's the next thing you do? Because you're completely lost at the start of Tarkov. You've no idea what you're doing. You go to YouTube and you look up a guide. And a lot of guides these days are going to tell you, hey, you're new to Tarkov, you want to make some money? Well, here's a couple of things you can do. Here's my guide to early game weapons. And then you've got your scav runs, and it's like, okay, I can do my scav run. I can use this to learn the map. I can kind of pick up things here and there, and, you know, that's fine. And then you've got, like, you know, oh, cache running. It's like, oh, I'll go to a nighttime interchange or a nighttime shoreline. I'll go run stashes, you know, cool. And then Timmy finds a really nice piece of armor that's like class 5. So Timmy's about to run into 2 problems. Timmy is now, you know, he's got on a little bit. You know, Timmy's about level 20. You know, he's got a couple of guns you really like. He's got some cool mods for, and they work pretty well. He's been trying them out in his hideout because he's been leveling it up. He's got his gun rage, dude. Timmy's there blasting targets. He's going, dude, I think it's time I take out that really nice class 5 armor and that nice helmet. There's a couple of things that are going to happen to Timmy in his first raid. Timmy's going to load in, not knowing shit about how the weight system works in Tarkov, and he's going to realize, oh my god, I'm 40 kgs. I can't move. So now Timmy can't have fun in this raid, and he's going to be terrified, and that's fine. You're supposed to be terrified. However, that armor is so much more of a hindrance to you because now you can't move. Scenario number 2. Let's go PvP. Timmy runs into a PMC with PS rounds in 136 Vepr or like an AKM or something, and Timmy gets one-tapped, and he goes, wow, my armor didn't save me from 1 bullet. What is this instilling into Timmy's head? Why would I ever use expensive shit in this game? Because it's fucking pointless. Timmy can do 10 times more with a Mosin and a P.A.K.A. than he ever could wearing class 5 armor with whatever modded gun he has. Because what's the point? Because you get one tapped no matter what you're wearing in this game.
I want to play a game that I can trust, that rewards me for my skills, that rewards me for making smart decisions under pressure. I want to play a game where I can trust what I see and trust what I hear. That when I win, I know I earned it. And when I lost, I know I didn't. I want to play a game where I can trust that the people I'm playing against are playing legitimately. A game that constantly doesn't make me question that because of poor design or poor performance. I want to play a game that respects my time. Right now, I'm not quite sure that Tarkov is that game. Honestly, this video kind of feels like a last-ditch effort for me, hoping to throw a Hail Mary to BSG and the community to try and communicate just a little bit about why I'm so exhausted. The old Tarkov experience definitely wasn't perfect. We had all sorts of performance issues, bugs, broken mechanics, glitches, you name it, we had it. But for me and a number of my friends and community members that have been around since the good old days, it feels like something is missing. Something has been lost in the Tarkov experience. And I wholeheartedly believe it's not nostalgia, we're not looking back through rose-tinted glasses, it's not copium. When everything in the game held together just long enough, the movement, the weapons, the gear, and, yep, even the AI, the Tarkov of old provided an experience like no other. And it's this experience that I believe is at least a little bit closer to what Nikita's vision for Tarkov is. It's this experience that we want to feel again in the new maps, with the new guns, against the new bosses, with the new mechanics, in the Tarkov of today. I really do wish that those of you that have come to Tarkov fairly recently could have been with us to experience what it was like.
Yeah, I agree. Oh, these are some old clips, bro. Oh, I want to watch these. This is just going to be a nostalgia trip for me, but... Just even being able to move like this would make such a difference again. Oh, look, his helmet tanked a hit. Fucking awesome.
Oh shit.
Ah, look at him, goddamn pussy.
Run, bitch!
I don't know, man. Tell me this doesn't look fun, though. Christ. Look, like, it's so much smoother and so much less janky and, like, heavy feeling. You know what I mean? And it's not just, like, fight's immediately over. Like, I'm watching him dump, you know, 20 bullets into somebody before they go down, and I'm thinking, God, when was the last time it took fucking 20 bullets to kill somebody and the fight just wasn't over like that? In the majority of the fights, it's over in the first couple of bullets, you know? The game just has, like, way too much weight to it right now.
Oh no, what? I thought he died.
Oh, the old Val. Oh my God, I miss it so much.
Son of a... Son of a... Shit, what you call, man?
I don't know why this is making me emotional. Oh, this is back when fall damage wasn't in Tarkov. Jesus, dude. Veritas is a demon, man.
Shut up, God.
Back when the MP5 was good.
Stop.
You know, a controversial opinion. I kind of miss just being able to throw grenades by pressing G. Yeah, you used to be able to heal while you were mid-fight as well in Tarkov. Oh, the old UH-F1 handguard, whatever that thing was called. I used to love that thing. Do you know he's using a PSO with the eye cup on it as well?
Cover fire. Everybody, on me.
Dude, they just got rid of, like... Look at the lack of visual recoil in these clips as well, man. It's so much nicer. Also, can we appreciate the fact that, like, he would have been dead at the very start of this clip after he started getting shot at by the scab boss? He would have been instantly dead. Look how much longer the fights last in this. Like, these fights are so much more fun because they're so much more prolonged, you know? Because guess what? Your armor did something back in the day.
Yeah, keep saying that.
God, back when you could actually use iron sights. Can't do that anymore. Oh.
Nope, nope, nope. Woo! Get fucking destroyed, boys! Holy shit!
I know a lot of people are gonna like see my reaction to a lot of this shit and just go, hey, your fucking rose tinted glasses looking ass with your nostalgia boner, dude. Dude, I don't care, man. It just makes me not even want to boot up Tarkov because I'm just not going to what I just watched, you know? Clean had the same problem after. Are you serious? Yeah, dude, I'm just like, oh. What a video, though. Fucking 10 out of 10, man. Great fucking video.